Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel for your second Chelsea news video of this Saturday. I hope you guys are having a great weekend. Today we're going to update on a lot of stories. I know that there's a lot of people right now that are getting a bit concerned that considering we've only got 3 days to go until the first transfer window closes before the Club World Cup begins. It opens again on the 16th. But I must admit, I am a bit disappointed that we haven't been able to get more signings over the line. You've also got to remember that a lot of the selling clubs will be looking at these teams that are trying to do business, such as Chelsea, even a Man City and other clubs that are competing in the Club World Cup. They're going to be putting those prices a little bit higher. Teams aren't really out to be doing anybody else favours, but at the same time, I'm also happy that Chelsea aren't overpaying for players, but we've got a load of players to go through today, so make sure you're buckled in, get yourself a good old cup of tea. I've got mine here. Make sure you subscribe to GBFC. We're rocketing in subscriber numbers, and I think it's got something to do with me reminding people to subscribe, so sorry if you don't like it, but make sure that you do. So, let's begin first of all. This is very recent updates regarding Hugo Ekitike. According to Bild, from sources within the club, Chelsea are now hesitating over a move for Hugo Ekitike. They value him lower than 100 million and see the Frenchman in the range of 80 million euros. There was no contact between the two clubs at the start of the weekend. No Chelsea official has contacted Eintracht or even put an offer on the table. The top club bosses are obviously discussing this further. Todd Boehly and Behrad Eghbali will probably also be involved in possible negotiations. First of all, my thoughts on the 100 million euro asking price for Ekitike. I think it's way too high. I think it's always been way too high, and I'm relatively happy that Chelsea aren't just panicking and being like, yep, we're going to go and send Eintracht Frankfurt 100 million euros for Hugo Ekitike. I think Ekitike is a player that, again, we're talking about potential, the same as we are with a lot of Chelsea signings. But I think Ekitike could explode. I think in terms of the profile of player, when you look at Liam Delap and you look at what he actually is, what he does, you can tell straight away that he's a very different kind of striker to Nicholas Jackson, whereas Hugo Ekitike is relatively similar to Nicholas Jackson. And I just wonder if the longer Delap is already at Chelsea, and I'm not saying that we're watching him in shooting drills already and Maresca's judging him like that. That's not what's happening right now. Delap's probably having a good old rest before the Club World Cup. But for Chelsea to spend 100 million euros... We've heard Boehly speak, right? He's already told us that we've done the majority of the investing. 100 million is a ridiculous amount of money for a relatively unproven striker. Now, when it comes to Chelsea, business negotiations and whatever, this could very much be Chelsea pulling out, not at the last second, to try and get Frankfurt to actually negotiate that start point. Because Chelsea want to get this deal done before the Club World Cup, and I strongly anticipate if we can't get it done before the Club World Cup, then I don't think Chelsea will focus on this anywhere near the 100 million that is being asked of him. And to be quite honest, right, if it was me and I was putting in offers for Ekitike, I think Ekitike, 60 million euros with add-ons on top of that. I think 100 million is ridiculous, but when we're talking about those add-ons, do those add-ons add up to 100 million? I don't think so. I think 80 million is still an extraordinary amount of money. I'm not going to lie. But I just think 100 million was always slightly off when it comes to what they want for Ekitike. So maybe this is Chelsea playing the long game. We've obviously still got Liverpool in the race to sign Hugo Ekitike. So I'm sure Chelsea will be aware of all of the movements of any other clubs involved for Hugo Ekitike. But I also wouldn't be surprised, if with the emergence of players like Mohamed Kudus, who are also going to be very expensive this window, I just wonder if Chelsea will be prioritising. They'll look at Liam Delap and be like, well, we've given him the number 9 shirt. You can compete with Nicholas Jackson. And we'll try and look at a different kind of profile. Because realistically, is it enough to have Delap and Jackson? I don't think you can win a Premier League with Liam Delap and Nicholas Jackson leading the line next season for Chelsea. Could we do it in 2 or 3 years? Maybe. We could do it next season. I'm not going to rule it out. I think I've got really high hopes for what Liam Delap is going to do at Chelsea. I hope he hits the ground running. But if he doesn't, then it's a wasted window. So there is a world where Chelsea pull out from Ekitike and don't go for another striker. But we've been led to believe the whole time that we're after 2. And I think realistically, when you look at Nkunku, who's going to be leaving the club, that we thought was going to be a striker kind of player. I know that he's a 10 or he's kind of like that hybrid second striker, but it's still striker. Do you know what I mean? You're still expecting him to be up front and score goals. But there's just so many definitions of what a striker is these days. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. We move now into the next story, and it is Victor Osimhen. I want to wrap this one up for good because today he's flying to Nigeria from Istanbul and will inform clubs on his decision soon. I think when it comes to what we've just discussed there about Ekitike, we're still talking about unknowns. Unknowns in the sense of we've chosen that guy to go for, but we don't think he's worth it, so we're not going to go for him. Liam Delap is a great signing at £30 million. I think pretty much everybody agrees that for 30 million, Delap is a good signing. Victor Osimhen would have been that elite striker where we can just put the striker situation to bed. The same is what we're talking about with Mike Maignan. If Chelsea can actually sign him, we're going to get onto him in a second, so stay tuned. Then I think you've got the goalkeeper position sorted. I just have this fear, and it's not me being negative for no reason, but look, based on everything we know about what we have done in the transfer market, I've got this fear that Chelsea are going to once again be signing gamble players and having nothing concrete in terms of experienced leadership to come in and take the team to the next level. I think the team did very well last season. I'm still very happy with that top 4 finish right now, and I'm still very happy with winning the trophy. And I'm very excited to see what this team can do going into a Club World Cup, where I think we've got a pretty good chance of winning our group and then seeing how far we go in the knockouts. I'm excited for it. But as for Victor Osimhen, the saga is over, unfortunately. Unless there is some last-minute swing of the bat and Chelsea go in there and offer him stupid money. But, like, even I'm going to sit here and say now, the money is stupid. Like, absolutely ridiculous that this guy wants per season. But anyway, let's discuss now the bid for Mike Maignan. We've spoken about him a lot this week. AC Milan have rejected a bid from Chelsea for Maignan. It was less than £15 million. A final make-or-break offer is expected on Monday or Tuesday. This is CFC Pius's tweet at 86_Longo, who's been talking about this deal. I'm also going to say something. Why is David Ornstein, who is often one of the most reputable journalists, why has Ornstein not spoken about Mike Maignan to Chelsea? Maybe he doesn't have the same intel that a Fabrizio has. But also, I just find this one, again, frustrating. Just pay. Like, Mike Maignan at 25 million is a steal. And it's probably not even going to take 25 million. And if this bid was less than 15 million, what are we waiting for here? Because having a top goalkeeper, I'm actually, weirdly, you guys might not like this, but having a top goalkeeper for the whole of next season is very important. I'm not entirely sure Mike Maignan will be able to come in with only a couple of days to go before the Club World Cup and perform better in goal at Chelsea after all of the drama and the excitement of the whole transfer saga. Like, is he going to come straight in and start at the Club World Cup? I wouldn't be so sure of that, to be honest. He's going to take a bit of time to learn what Maresca wants from him. But this is frustrating that Chelsea aren't just paying this, in my opinion, because he is a world-class keeper. People will sit there and say to you, oh, but he conceded 5 against Spain. The guy had an off day, and there's a lot of noise going on in his head right now. I think it's understandable, and it's also a flipping Spain team that are European champions and could go on to win the World Cup with Lamine Yamal leading it for them. So, Chelsea are expected to bid again for Mike Maignan. And I find it baffling that we're just not coughing up here. I understand he's got a year left on his contract. I understand the club don't want to overpay for players, but Maresca wants these signings in before the Club World Cup. I hope that we're all on the same page here, because this is a huge opportunity, this tournament, and the longer these players can be in the squad together, if we don't get these players in before the tournament starts, I don't think it's going to be a case of, yep, call you up, mate, come and join. Because we're not going to be there for integrating players in. We're going to be in there to use the squad that we've got to go as far as we can in the competition. So the next couple of days are going to be absolutely key for Chelsea and getting these deals done. The next piece of news here. Premier League clubs are calling and pushing for Alejandro Garnacho. There's a strong chance he stays in England. 3 Premier League clubs have called. At Fabrizio Romano, we know Chelsea have been there since January for Alejandro Garnacho. I've never been one to be too excited about this deal. That isn't going to change here today. One thing I will say is the price for Garnacho now is going to be very different. I don't think Manchester United can command the 60, 70, 75 million pound fees that they were asking for back in the January window. Garnacho, I do think if he can calm down all of that off-the-field stuff, I think there's a really good player in there. And if he did sign for Chelsea, obviously I'm going to back him, because I don't let Chelsea sign players and then because I didn't want them, hold a vendetta against them. I think that's ridiculous. I think there's no benefit to that whatsoever. But I do think other Premier League clubs will be interested, and Chelsea have been on Jamie Gittins for a while. Maybe now that we're seeing that Borussia Dortmund aren't willing to move on this deal, Chelsea are valuing him around 35, 40 million. Dortmund wants 60. Again, we're talking here about being priced out. And I think it's not ridiculous for Chelsea to turn around and be like, you know what? Ekitike's not worth 100 million, so we're not paying it. Gittins isn't worth 60 million, so we're not paying it. Because I think those transfer fees, I know the wages will be good for those and we'll be happy with that as a club, but those transfer fees are ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And it's not just Chelsea that this is happening to. The market is all over the place right now. The next player that we're going to discuss here is João Pedro. João Pedro expected to leave Brighton with movements taking place. Again, just want to piece all of this together, because about 2 weeks ago, we were hearing that Chelsea were interested in signing João Pedro. We're now hearing these player names come out again. There is a lot of PR that comes out. The journalists, they get these information packets, I guess, and then slowly drip feed it to all of us. And yes, it breeds excitement. Yes, we sit here, we talk about it. But again, João Pedro is a name that has been coming out from Chelsea for quite some time. So if you put it together, Ekitike at 100 million from the Bundesliga. I've been saying all along it's a risk, because it is. Maybe now Chelsea are looking at it and being like, okay, Delap, Jackson, those are the strikers, so we're going to go for something a little bit different. And I've got the stats up here again for João Pedro, because they're really not that bad. Let me zoom in on these here. This is Pedro's stats per 90 minutes. He's in the top 3% for carries, passes, interceptions. He's very good. He's a physical kind of player. Passes attempted, shot creating actions, that is always an important one to look at. Take-ons too. And in terms of the overall numbers for João Pedro last season, 10 goals and 6 assists in the Premier League. I actually think he's a significantly better player than a lot of the players that we might have even been linked with. To be quite honest, I think he brings something a little bit different. And as much as, yeah, there's quite a few penalty goals in there for Brighton, I think Pedro, as much as I'm kind of over Chelsea going to Brighton with flipping business and money to get their players, I mean, let me know what you think about this in the comments down below, because I don't know enough about Ekitike, because I've never seen him play in England. But João Pedro can do it in the Premier League. So maybe if we're looking at a significantly better price than 100 million euros for Ekitike, then potentially João Pedro to Chelsea could actually be a deal worth going for. Newcastle are ready to step up their pursuit of João Pedro, who's been linked to Chelsea after identifying the £60 million plus Brighton and Hove Albion forward as the ideal profile to bolster Eddie Howe's attack. Newcastle have also kind of been annoyed that they think there's this Saudi tax that's put on everything, which is probably true. But Newcastle in the race as well. There's a lot of stories, guys, where there's a lot of Premier League clubs after the same players as other Premier League clubs. If you want to watch the video from earlier, we talk about Chelsea and Arsenal being in a battle for both Nico Williams and Rodrigo. Those are the elite ones. Do you know what I mean? Like, now that we're in this weekend period where Chelsea don't often do too much, or we don't hear too much about transfers on the weekend. But this weekend's a bit different because we've got to get these players in before the 10th to be able to register them in time for the Club World Cup competition. But anyway, the next piece of news. Benfica have reportedly offered Chelsea 25 million euros for Portuguese international João Felix and hope to register him before Tuesday to include him in their Club World Cup squad. João Felix, it is a shame, man. Remember that price tag when he left Benfica? And I'll show you guys, look, it's absolutely mad. 2018, as an 18-year-old striker, gets 22 GA, and then from that point on, like, it's 2 seasons at Chelsea. Like, it's just not good enough in the league. 2 goals. I know he's hardly played in the league, but none of these numbers are very good either. After that season at 18 years old, the best he ever did was as a 20-year-old in 2021 at Atletico Madrid. João Felix, I think it's time that everybody just, I think it's already happened. I think people have just got to accept that he's a player that never quite fulfilled that potential. Great player on his day, can do brilliant things with a football, can see things in a way that a lot of players can't, and he's exciting. But 25 million euros to end up back at Benfica after 7 mediocre seasons. I hope it isn't playing on his mind. I hope he can just shut out all of that noise and be like, right, I've got to knuckle down here. I've got to do something about my career. Because it's stagnated. It's not stagnating, it's stagnated, mate. João Felix to Benfica. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. They also want to get deals done before the Club World Cup. And potentially, we could face Benfica in the last 16. Imagine if we get humbled by João Felix and he signs for Benfica. Not going to entertain that idea anymore today. But this has been your second Chelsea news video of the day. We've spoken about Mike Maignan. We've spoken about Ekitike, Osimhen, João Pedro. Let me know your thoughts on all of these stories in the comments down below. And I will see you guys tomorrow for another video. It is the weekend, but I'm still going to try and get these videos uploaded for you guys. So thanks for all the love and support. See you there.